go live. All right. Looks like we are good, I think. Wait, let me just double. All right. Looks like we are good, I think. Wait, let me Okay. Yes, we are. All right. Alrighty. Welcome everyone to the 12th episode of the Lucky Charm podcast. Um, of course, I am your host, Leah. And of course, I'm joined here by my very good buddy, G, aka the Cartoon Hotspot.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, so this is an interesting topic that I don't see miraculous content creators talk about. G, like literally, I don't really have I don't see miraculous content creators, and we are talking about this, and we're gonna talk about the different friendship dynamics in Miraculous. So how about let's start with the most represented in the show, with Marinette and Alia. So I want to hear your thoughts about this, G.
Okay, so I think Alienette is probably one of my favorite friendships. Not just in Miraculous Ladybug, but like in just cartoon in general. I absolutely love their friendship. I love everything about their friendship. I love how they met and how their friendship has just evolved over the couple of seasons. And I think there's a lot to learn from their friendship. And I do love how the writers have kind of shown not just the good side of their friendship, but both Alia and Marinette's flaws in their friendship, and what we can learn from that friendship. So yeah, Alia and Marinette are just I just love Alia and Marinette so much. I love how and I really appreciate how the writers acknowledged that if it wasn't for Alia, she would not, as in Marinette would not be Ladybug. They brought that back in the Paris special. They actually reminded the audience, like, hey, Alia is the reason why Marinette decided to continue being Ladybug, even though she gave up initially. And it's just, there are so many great moments in Alienette's friendship. I low-key want to make a top 10 Alienette moments, but I would say my favorite moment was one from the Paris special, and then second favorite is probably the episode in season 4, which I don't know why I'm spacing out on that episode, but the one where Marinette tells Alia that she's Ladybug. I think that just comes full circle. And yeah, I love their friendship. I love their trust between them. And I think Marinette telling Alia that she's Ladybug was definitely the right route to go. I'm
Hmm.
so glad they did it because I think it really did change the trajectory of the series in one way or another. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I feel obviously we have to talk about them first because their friendship dynamic is showcased the most in this show, out of all the other friendships that we're going to talk about. And I think, like you said, like once Marinette told Alia, and revealed that she was Ladybug, it really did change the trajectory because now Marinette is like, I'm not alone in this. Because obviously, she still keeps that boundary, with Cat Noir that like we are not supposed to know each other's identities. Like that has already been like established, throughout the entire show. But Marinette confiding in her best friend is like the perfect way to like showcase. Because remember, like during a time, like Gabriel literally had Natalie, before they introduced Tomoe, right? Because Natalie was like Gabriel's like confidant, like obviously she was the one who knew his identity as Hawkmoth and stuff. So now we get to see that Marinette has someone to tell too, if you know what I mean. Like I think showcasing what they did, literally like I think a great example of that was I think it was like in Mr. Pigeon 72 in season 4. And then literally like Marinette was with Kagami, at the pool. where Adrian was, I think, doing a shoot for like I think a commercial or something like that. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen that episode, but literally Alia was still at Marinette's house, and then literally Marinette as Ladybug called her, and then she's like, "Do you want me to go help you out like there?" And she's like, "No, you need to stay inside, because it's too dangerous." And literally Alia immediately understood the assignment, like she's like, "Oh, okay, I gotta use the illusion, to show the villain that, hey, here's Ladybug and Cat Noir." So they have like this big trust, with each other. Um and they have like, I think what was very like shocking was, of course, in the just letting you know, chat, that just be sure that you've at least watched the season 6 episodes, because there might be a little bit, we might mention a little bit from season 6, just letting you know. But I think the episode was Revelator, because the villain's ability was, I don't know, to cough up like a ball thing, and then it kind of has like to unveil like their like secret or something like that. And when Alia as Rena Rouge touched Marinette's like, I guess, truth thing, like it literally showcased the like, oh, and then she got like really shocked, and then she gave Marinette like as Ladybug a glare. And she's like, uh-oh. um and stuff. But I gotta admit though, I think what I like about that is that even though Ollie is like, I promise to keep like specific secrets, and not tell anybody, but the specific one, when she finds out that Marinette lied to everybody, including Adrian, and she literally like berates her. Like she makes like illusions of the two of them, and then they just talk on like on a rooftop. And she's like, how could you lie? How could you lie to me? How could you lie to like everybody, especially Adrian? And the fact that it really culminated, and she's like, I hate lying. And that really, it also changes the trajectory of their friendship, because like Marinette, like literally Alia even admits that, yeah, this is a secret I will not be able to keep. So they decide, yeah, let's use the power to erase her memory, But what I like is that Alia was honest. She's like, this is not right to keep Adrian in the dark of all people. And I think, Alia calling her out on this, I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's what a true friend does. A true friend and a best friend has to be very bluntly honest with you. And I kind of like how they showcase, all the different aspects of their friendship with Marinette and Alia. Wouldn't you agree, G?
No, yeah, I completely agree as well. I love how, and I really wish the fandom in general, or at least the majority of the fandom, would like look at moments like the one you just mentioned in Revelator as not an opportunity to like bash Alia, but sort of kind of see where she's coming from, because Alia is
Hmm.
100% correct. And I think as a best friend, people think that just because you are best friends with someone, you should blindly agree with everything they say. And I
Hmm.
have to disagree with that. I think you should call out your best friend. I'd want my best friend to call me out whenever I'm wrong, and I would hope she'd want me to call her out whenever she's wrong. And so I really do feel like Alia wasn't doing what she did in the episode Revelator from a place of malice, but more so from a place of disappointment, but also love for Marinette, because she knows this is all going to blow up in her face. And
Hmm.
like you said, it's a boundary. Like
Hmm.
Alia will keep certain secrets for the sake of, safety and the secret identities or whatever, like Ladybug's rule. Because at the end of the day, Ladybug is the boss. Yes, that's her,
Hmm.
but Ladybug is the boss. So it's her shot to call. But there are certain boundaries that even you have to like stand firm on and be like, absolutely not. Um, and it reminds me, and it's just kind of going slightly onto the other friendship that we might delve into, but I'm just going to quickly dabble into it. It reminds me of the London special, specifically when Kagami and Marinette were talking, and Kagami was like, "You are, I can't remember the exact line she said, but she said you're blinded by love or something." And it reminded me that
Hmm.
Alia and Kagami, the one thing they have in common is that they're not afraid to call Marinette out and tell her like,
Hmm.
"Hey, I get your ladybug and we respect you and everything. At the end of the day, we will follow your orders. But this is a boundary, and I think you are mixing superhero business with personal life. And I think you have crossed the line, and we are not going to cross that line just because we're your friends. And
Hmm.
as friends, you should have boundaries with your friends, boundaries that
Hmm.
you're willing to compromise on." So I really do love that scene a lot.
Hmm.
Shame that people didn't quite see it that way as well, but oh well.
Hmm. Yeah. I really love how they really show the different sides of Marinette and Alia. It's not just always just having fun and spending time, with each other, right? Like literally, I think in Illustrator, like the first episode that aired, in English, um clearly like you can tell they're BFFs because like their boyfriends are BFFs with each other. And I always love calling them the core four. But I think literally like I kind of like when Alia can be so like straight with her, and like literally Marinette is like very nervous to be alone with Adrian because obviously the relationship's still new for her and Adrian. They're still learning the ropes of being a couple. And then Alia's like, "Are you saying that you don't know how to spend time alone with your boyfriend?" And she's like, "Yeah, okay." Like, and she's like, "I love you, girl," and the fact that Alia has her back. And I think what was interesting at the end of like Revelator, literally because since Alia's memory was erased, like she's like, why would Marinette think I'd be mad at her? Like she actually starts questioning it. Like, why would she think I'd get mad at her? And then she said, and she's like, no matter what it is, I'm going to be by her side. And I was like, that's beautiful. Like even though, like even before the memory erase, she was really mad. Like you said, she was disappointed in her best friend for like hiding this,
Yeah.
especially from Adrian. Like, and like I said, I'm on Alia's side on the argument because literally I'm just like Alia. I'm like, I would have been glaring at Marinette too. Like, I'm kind of like, why are you keeping this from Adrian? Adrian, of all people, deserved to know the truth about his father being the villain. Like, you know, because literally I think in season 6 so far, they are showcasing why it's a bad idea, for Marinette to literally hide this truth from Adrian, you know? Because I'm pretty sure you saw Reckless Driver, right?
Yeah.
G? Yeah, when Adrian went to he learns about therapy and all that, and he decides, you know what, I'm gonna go to therapy. Cause and I know we had that Twitter space, I think it was like about a month ago-ish, I could be wrong, that you held for like Reckless Driver. Um, and I talked about how I love how Miraculous is showcasing, oh, it's okay to go to therapy for whatever like personal issues you have in your real life. And Adrian is finally getting the proper therapy he needed, and the fact that Alia also tells Marinette that like I think what I love is that I think people have pointed out that I think it's good that Alia told Marinette that you cannot fix everything for Adrian because that's going to turn into codependency, which is very unhealthy, and Alia's like, yeah, I was like, Adrian should have the right to go to therapy. He's like, it's good that you want to be there for your boyfriend, but you need to let him do this, because therapy is probably something he needs, you know? And I kind of like how Alia told Marinette that it's like, girl, you can't fix everything, which is ironic because obviously that's Ladybug's power, fixing everything. But Alia calls her out and tells her, you cannot fix this part about Adrian. He needs to like work through it himself, and she's like, it's good that you support him, but you need to let him do this, have that avenue to vent it out to the therapist. So I kind of I love that part that Alia tells Marinette in that episode, Reckless Driver.
Yeah, I I like that part as well because she approached it in a very gentle way because she understands, like Ali is very emotionally intelligent. She understands that Marinette may not necessarily listen. So I need to speak in a way that she would like hear what I'm trying to say without me accidentally offending her. Because again, she's quite sensitive. So she tells Marinette, sorry, that like you are just as important, but you cannot be, his saving grace, and that's okay. I don't think that's what relationships are supposed to look like. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think we don't talk enough about how Alia being a good friend to Marinette sort of extends to her being a good friend to Adrian, especially in the episode Revelator. But obviously Alia and Adrian have barely had any interaction, so I don't even know. I wish they had more interactions. But yeah, Alia and Marinette, favorite friendship. I love them so much. And I just can't wait to see more like Alia and Annette moments in season 6.
Yeah, like I think like when it's like lighthearted moments, I think one of my lighthearted moments between Marinette and Alia, I think it's like when I okay, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong. I think the episode was Reflect Doll, I think, where literally the girls, literally Alia's like her wing woman, and she just drags like the other girls into it to like this is the elaborate plan, to have Marinette and Adrian like just be within vicinity of each other, right? To set up a quote unquote date and then and then like literally like Milan is like, isn't it easier for Marinette just to ask him out? And then like Alia calls her out and tells Milan, it's like, Milan, this is Marinette we're talking about. It has to be a complicated plan. So I love how Alia just knows Marinette at this point. Like she knows that Marinette could be overthinking everything, but Alia just goes along with it because she's like, yeah, Alia's well aware that Marinette just can't go up to Adrian and ask him, because like um obviously that's tough for her to do. So it's like that's why she goes along with Marinette's like convoluted plan. So it's definitely one of my favorite like lighthearted moments, if anything. What did you think of that moment?
The was it Reflector?
I believe oh wait.
Reflector's the one where they were like designing something for like Adrian to model, and they were trying to get, you know, because there is so like both of those episodes take place in the same like the episode I was thinking of was Gigantitan, but both
Oh, wait,
episodes.
wait. Oh, wait. I think you're right. It is Gigantitan. Yeah.
Okay, because I got no, because I completely got confused as well because Gigantitan and Reflector all happen in the same like place as well, like same
Hmm.
exact location. And
Hmm.
it starts off the same as well, like starts off at Marinette's room and then they're in the not the park, but that Trocadero, that's where it's called. But yeah, no, I I really like that episode as well. It was so fun. I miss those vibes from season 2 and season 1 a lot where
Hmm.
we in fact, now that we're talking about the friendship and you mentioned a good like episode, I just realized that I feel like we saw more of the friendships in the class in the earlier seasons than we
Hmm.
do now. And I think that's what made me realize that, like I like season 4 and I don't like season 5, but yeah. But there's a reason why I feel a certain way towards season 4 and season 5 because I feel like we haven't gotten a lot of, the class friendships. Like they're in school, they're in high school. I
Hmm.
missed episodes that took place solely at Francois Dupont High School. And I'm not saying every single episode needs to take place there, but I actually really do love seeing the friendships within the class. And I think we got more of that in the earlier seasons. But yeah, no, Gigantitan was a really good episode. I just loved how all of them were just kind of dragging their feet and were helping Marinette with this stupid, convoluted plan. um, yeah, that episode was so wholesome and cute.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. Like the first two seasons, we see more the friendship dynamics more.
Right.
Yeah, like literally, I think one of my other favorite moments is I think it had to be the Animan one. And literally like Olia's just like behind like a tree and she's like helping Marinette through like a like earpiece. And when Nino just pretended it was Alia at first, it's like, "Your friend Alia, what?" And she's literally like, and then like I was like, "What is?" And then Meredith's like, "Oh, awesome! No, no, it's not awesome." And then Meredith's like, "I could set up a date for you guys." Say what? Seriously? And I love her sass in that scene because she's like, "You didn't even ask me first." And then she just did that. It's like Nino's like a brother to me. Like I laughed at that part because it really shows the goofiness and silliness between the two. Um, so like there's just so many great moments with Marinette and Alia. Like I said, they're like the most represented, in the show, and that's probably why they have like the most memorable moments. I would say, wouldn't you agree, G?
Yeah, I I 100% agree. I think outside of obviously the Love Square, I think Ali and Marinette are like have huge focal points within the series. I can pinpoint at least like 5 points just an Ali and Annette sort of interaction that has, led to how the series has turned out. If I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense. Like, yeah, a lot of the driving point of the series is Adrian and Marinette or Ladybug and Cat Noir. But I would argue as well that a lot of Alia and Marinette's interactions have kind of driven the plot of the series. For example,
Hmm.
the Origins episode when they first meet,
Hmm.
I think Marinette meeting Alia, and I think a lot of people forget that Alia was a new student in Francois Dupont High School.
Hmm.
So I think I love thinking about like the origins because everyone in that class did not defend Marinette for the past, I don't know, however many years that they've been in the class together, but for the past like 3 or 4 years. And here comes this new girl with a fresh set of eyes, fresh set of perspective. And as a new girl, you'd be like, oh, let me just like keep to myself and try not to make any enemies on my first day. But Alia stood up for Marinette on that first day. And I think that was what kickstarted a lot of Marinette's arc. I think Alia is a massive point of inspiration for Marinette, which is ironic because if it wasn't for Alia, Marinette would have become Ladybug. But also, if it wasn't for Ladybug, Alia wouldn't have started her blog. So, like, both of them are big inspirations in the other's life, and I just think it's like it came really full circle when like Alia was idolizing Ladybug. She loves Ladybug. She loves superheroes. She absolutely adores Ladybug, and then she finds out that Ladybug is her best friend,
Hmm.
and it's just like it just comes full circle. And I love that culmination of their friendship so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with what you mentioned. Yeah, like, like you said, like we now know the other classmates never defended Marinette. And then, like you said, here comes this new girl. And it's like her first day at their school. And she's like, I'm gonna defend this girl because obviously I can clearly see she's a bully, to Chloe, you know. And she immediately just defended her, from Chloe. And you could say that, like you said, they're like positive influences to each other. It's like you said, um, like Alia inspired Marinette, and like you said, Marinette wouldn't have been Ladybug if it wasn't for Alia, you know. And then and like you said, because Marinette was Ladybug, Alia was inspired to make the Lady blog, so like you said, they have this positive influence and rapport with each other. um that they have, influenced each other. And I think what I also love is that, they have showcased they slept at each other's house, like sleepovers, which really culminates their bond and connection as best friends. I mean, um, so I think that's what I truly enjoy about Alia and Marinette's friendship, you know?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
All right. So how about let's talk about the boys this time. Let's talk about Nino and Adrian.
Okay. I feel like we have significantly less to go off from with Nino and Adrian. I feel like we saw more of Nino and Adrian in like the first two, I'd like to say, or maybe three seasons. And then it's like season 4 and 5, I'm just like, I don't I don't see them interact as much. Like
Yeah.
it flew over my head that Nino is Adrian's best friend. But I
Hmm.
feel like we have seen less and less of them over the years, and it kind of hurts me. It kind of breaks my heart because I
Hmm.
really did like their friendship. I like how the same for Ollie and Annette. I like how
Hmm.
Nino was the first person Adrian met, and we forget that Nino was very, very introverted. Because if you
Hmm.
remember, I think there was a throwaway line by like Miss Bustier. Uh, Miss Bustier was like, because this is the origins episode I'm talking about. Miss Bustier was like, Nino, would you like to sit in the front this year? And clearly, Nino is not quite happy about that, but
Hmm.
like he does it anyway. So it told me that I think Nino is very introverted and he doesn't really interact with a lot of people. And then he meets Adrian, who's just as introverted, if not worse, and clearly has no social cues. And at first, he's really judgy
Hmm.
judgy towards Adrian. He's like, "Oh, you're friends with Chloe, huh?" And when he realizes that Adrian actually has a good heart, he's like, "Well, you just made your first friend. I'm Nino," and I find that
Hmm.
so cool. And then I do really, really like how it's Nino that was Adrian's first friend and not Marinette. I know this might be a little bit
Hmm.
controversial, but I like how it wasn't Marinette he met first on his
Hmm.
first day of school, as in Adrian's first day of school. I like how it was Nino first, and then
Hmm.
Marinette. And then I think one of my favorite parts is the bubbler, which is like such a long time ago when
Hmm.
Nino got angry on Adrian's behalf and he was trying to talk to Gabriel. And that's super scary. Like imagine like a 13, 14-year-old boy talking to your like talking to his best friend's strict father. I would
Hmm.
be like, I'd be shaking.
Yeah.
Nino was so brave, and I really, really appreciate that for their friendship. And there are other moments they've had, but it's like it pales in comparison to like the first season. I remember what else do I remember? Adrian trying to give Nino like girl advice because he had a crush on Marinette, and then later
Hmm.
on, like Nino ended up liking Alia. I think that was really
Hmm.
cool. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of spacing a lot on Nino and Adrian's. Like I'm literally fighting my brain to try and remember other moments they've had, and I just
Hmm.
can't remember it. I think I do need to do a rewatch of the series.
Hmm.
But Nino Adrian is very underrated. I think the writers underrate them as well, and I kind of wish we saw more of that because I do think
Hmm.
now more than ever, especially in season 6, now that Adrian is an orphan, I think
Hmm.
depending on Marinette, it goes back to our point of codependency, right? Depending
Yeah.
on isn't enough. Like, yeah, that's your girlfriend and she's your best friend at the same time, but you need friends outside of that. And I don't think we've seen Adrian really confide in anyone outside of Marinette about what he's dealing with. Granted, in the episode Revelator, I think that was the few time we did see Adrian and Nina, and that was like 2 minutes, or not even that, like less than a minute. When
Hmm.
he was talking about, I can't remember what he was saying. He was like, "I just wish I had a normal life and people didn't come up to me for photographs or whatever." And that was that. And we didn't see anything else from their friendship. But I do hope
Hmm.
we get more of them because they're so underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like Nino and Adrian are like very, very, very underrated. you know, in terms of we need more representation. It's pretty
Yeah.
obvious that we need more representation, you know, but you know, from the times that we have seen them interact at least, you know, I would say they have like positive influences, you know, which is very similar to Marinette and Alia. Like you said, you know, we both know Adrian was homeschooled, so he had like no social life, you know, before he went to school. And pretty much like you said, Nino was judgmental at first, but then he's like, oh, okay. He's not bad, you know, like he's not a bad guy or anything like that. Um, and and literally, like I think with what they have done for Nino and Adrian, you know, like I kind of like that. I think what was it? I think it was the episode Glaciator, and then Adrian just texts Nino that like, yeah, my dad's not letting me like go out, right? And then you know, like Nino, you could say Nino is probably just like, you know, he's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, my best friend's like dad is very strict with him, you know, like he understands, you know, like how Adrian's life is being controlled over, you know. But I think what was interesting, I think it was representation, you know, that party at the Eiffel Tower thing. And there's like I think there's like this one line that like Nino's like, how come he didn't tell us? Like his dad shouldn't have that much control over his life, you know. So but I think, you know, like whenever it needed to be, you know, Adrian and Nino do have each other's back at least, you know, and they do have the positive influence. Like Nino, you know, like Nino influenced him to like, you know, make up with Marinette, right? Because like, you know, Adrian tried to say hi, he's like, oh, okay. And then like Nino's like, dude, you want to make friends, right? Why don't you go talk to Marinette, you know, about the chewing gum, you know?
Mm.
And then he's like, what should I say to her? And then he said, just be yourself. And I have to say, that's like the best advice that Nino has given Adrian, I would say, you know, in order to like fix things with Marinette, because obviously she misunderstood, you know, what Adrian was doing on that, you know, in the Origins episode. And Adrian was just honest, and that worked out, you know. I gotta give props to Nino, you know, that advice worked out very well, you know, because Adrian's like, what should I say to her? You know, because obviously, you know, if you've been like sheltered and homeschooled your whole life, it's really hard to understand social cues. Like you said, G, it's
Mhm.
very, very difficult to understand social cues. And Adrian's like learning this as he goes, you know, from when he finally was able to go to school and not be homeschooled, you know, he's like learning all these social cues um along the way. So yeah, I'd say they have positive influence on each other in some way, you know. Like Nino kind of taught him to you know, just be true to yourself, you know. Um, and then, you know, obviously Adrian is kind of like, oh yeah, like I think Nino kind of like it, I think when Nino tried to approach Marinette, you know, who was with Alia, he's like, I can't approach her. And then, you know, and it's like, dude, seriously? Um, and then Nino's like, oh, it's like says the guy who attracts a lot of ladies or something along that line. And then Adrian's like, of course, it's like you can do this. That's why you're my best friend. And I'm like, um, but yeah, like I just hope we get more in season 6 because we are like missing out on Nino and Adrian.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. How about wait, let me go check. Oh wait, how about let's talk about yeah, let's talk about Marinette and Kagami. I want to know your perspective on this, G.
I think Marinette and Kagami is by far one of the most fun friendships
Mm-hmm.
in Miraculous, because when you compare their personalities, they are just they're polar opposites. So like
Mm-hmm.
on paper, it wouldn't work, but I think that's what makes it so endearing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I love how at first Marinette was very intimidated by Kagami. She was basically side-eyeing Kagami like that one time she threw shade and called her the Ice Queen. Um, um, and and I think Ikari Goes is probably one of my favorite episodes because it just showed that Kagami was trying to make friends. She just didn't know the best approach, and Marinette was a little bit like weirded out. It's so funny because Marinette of all people weirded out is that should tell you a lot about how like awkward Kagami was. And
Mm-hmm.
she later regretted, jumping the gun a little bit and being a little bit too judgy towards Kagami when she found out she was only just trying to make friends. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I find their friendship really, really endearing because Marinette is like the chaotic one and Kagami is like the calm, a little bit too calm. And they work a lot. I think Kagami's the calm to Marinette's storm, and
Mm-hmm.
like Alia, she tells Marinette how it is. She
Mm-hmm.
isn't afraid to call Marinette out and just be completely blunt because sometimes Marinette does need somebody to be blunt with her.
Yeah.
Um, so I really, really like that. And yeah, just I like Marigami a lot. I really do. I think it's a really fun, like their friendship interactions are really, really fun. And kudos to the voice actors both in the French and the English dub as well, because I think every time I watch their scenes, it's just it's really fun. Like even what's the latest that like I'm not gonna spoil too much from the Tokyo special, but like their interactions in the Tokyo special were super fun to watch. Probably the best part of the special.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Marinette and Kagami are an interesting dynamic that I absolutely love and cherish. The only downside, and I would say this is more of a writing flaw rather than a friendship flaw. I mean, you can consider it both. Is I don't think the fandom talks enough about how Kagami finds out Marinette is Ladybug. And
Ah.
I feel like that was brushed over way too quickly, and it's like it doesn't even happen like as the audience sees it. It's something that Kagami tells us as a flashback, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I think I would have appreciated if like Kagami heard and was like, oh, Marinette is a ladybug. I would have loved to see her sort of like reaction to it, like, oh, a close friend of mine is Ladybug. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And what's worse is that when she finds out, she keeps it to herself.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because now with the context, she finds out Marinette is Ladybug, gets akumatized 3 episodes later in the episode Protection. Yeah.
Yeah. Protection.
But doesn't reveal that Ladybug is Marinette, even though she was like quite angry with Marinette because Lila manipulated her or something. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
how did she manage to do that? Like she knew that Marinette is Ladybug, and she didn't like reveal anything, huh? And what's worse is that she told Felix, and
Yeah.
I don't think I don't care about Felix, but regardless of whether Felix is a good person or a like not a good person, I still think she shouldn't have told him that, sorry. Um, because like Felix and Marinette don't talk. You don't it's like if I find out a secret from you about you and I tell a friend that you don't even know of, that's really weird because like I don't know that friend. I don't know if I can trust them and you just went ahead and told my secret to a friend that I don't know. I just feel like the fandom kind of brushes past that and I don't think Marinette really acknowledges that. She's just kind of like, "Oh, okay, Kagami knows my identity. Felix knows my identity. Okay, let's move on."
Yeah.
I think Marinette, for someone that's very protective of her identity, I think she would have been a lot more mad. I genuinely feel like
Yeah.
it was very out of character for her not to acknowledge it or have at
Yeah.
least a bit of a reaction to it. I think that was the biggest writing flaw. But overall, I really do like Marigami, so I can't complain.
Yeah, like I think, I don't remember the name of the episode. I think it's like Marinette and a bunch of girls enter like this contest to I guess to in order to win the chance to meet Adrian or something like that. I don't remember the name of the episode, but literally Marinette was paired with Kagami, and then like I like Kagami, she's just reading stuff off her phone, and then she just smiles, and then Marinette's like, huh? Like she gives her like weird looks. She's like asking her, "What's your blood type? What's this? What's that?" And then Marinette's like a little like she's behaving weird. Like that interaction made me like laugh so much when I saw that. But then like Marinette realizes, oh, and it's just like she's actually trying to make friends. I was like, okay, now this makes more sense why she was asking me all these weird questions, you know. So I think, yeah, um yeah, I think I would have to say you can I think we can mention Yaxi Gozen from season 6 G, because that one was focused on Kagami and Felix, obviously. But we do see a bit more of their goofy dynamic in that one. I think the goofy dynamic makes me laugh because um literally Felix and Kagami just like enter Marinette's room, you know, and then literally like you just hear like Marinette's dad, and then all like her parents and Asian are just right there, and he's like, Felix, Kagami, what are you doing here? um and I have to say, like, their dynamic with Felix in that episode was hilarious. I never knew Felix could be so goofy and silly because we're so used to him being like so serious all the time. So it really threw me for a loop. But his dynamic with Marinette and Kagami were just like hilarious in that episode because they were trying to find their respective rings, right, that held their amok. And then and they're like just looking for the rings, and it was just hilarious, if anything. So I think, with like I really wish we could talk about the Tokyo special because that's where we see a lot of their dynamic more. But we'll save that for a future live stream, obviously. Ooh, but how about let's talk about wait, which because there's like a bunch of them. How about let's talk about Julika and Rose. I want to know your perspective on Julika and Rose.
Okay, I feel like I might upset a few people here. This might be an unpopular opinion.
Mm,
I feel like we, I don't know, because we know Julika and Rose are a couple, but if we're talking about friendships in Miraculous, I feel like we haven't really seen much of their friendship compared to them being a couple, if you know what I mean. Like it was always
hmm
implied from season one that they are a couple, like they have romantic feelings for each other. I get that. And I feel like in terms of their friendship, I did think we saw more of their friendship in season one, and then from season two onwards, they were hammering down and was like, "Hey, Julika and Rose, they're a couple." They had to do it subtly, of course, but now in season six, they can very much be quite like overt about it. But
hmm
I think, and a lot of my opinion is due to the fact that I think Rose and Julika's character did sort of undergo a very random character change. Both of their characters went a very random character change because season one, Julika did talk. Like you could visibly and physically hear her talk. And then they randomly decided to switch it up in like season two where you could just hear her mumbling. And I don't remember what the reason for that change was or how that change came about. I just remember one day being like, huh, Julika's always mumbling. So I do feel like Rose and Julika's characters were very different in season one, so we saw more of the dynamic and it was more interesting then than it is now. Um
hmm
Rose was a lot less I feel like Rose was a lot less, you know, chippy, and I don't know how to explain it, but Rose now is very much you know, like very like bubbly. Not saying that being bubbly is bad, but she definitely wasn't as bubbly in season one and season two. I for sure think they upped the bubbliness and the quirkiness a lot more by season three. Likewise, how Julika was at least very, you know, like she could talk. She was shy and socially anxious, but she did speak in season one, and then season two they just like hammered down on that, and she just
Hmm.
stopped talking and was mumbling. So I feel like ever since they went those character changes, I saw less of their friendship and less of their interactions, and I didn't really find I don't find Julika and Rose very. I like them, don't get me wrong. I just don't find them as compelling as the
Mm.
others.
Ah,
I think that
yeah, yeah, that's a
that
fair
could just be
point.
me.
Oh no, that's a fair point. I mean, like, yeah, like, I would say the one that at least shows a bit of their friendship is Guilt Trip, I would say, or not Guilt Trip, but what was it Guilt Trip? I could be wrong. Wait, yeah, let me go check because I know it was in season four. Um, and it was the one where Rose got the what was it? They got the yeah. Oh no, wait, it was Guilt Trip, yeah. Um where like I think Rose it was like literally said that she has like a disease or something like that. We don't really know as of yet. They don't really tell us in the show, and that was why Rose wasn't at school, I think. And then like Julika was just really worried. And then I think when Adrian and Marinette like go to like comfort her, like Julika confides in them, and then of course because Marinette decides to tell the entire class, um, if anything, but literally, I think that episode, really shows that like I think it makes you could say like Rose was like the light in her darkness. I kind of feel like that's how I would like summarize Julika and Rose, because they're like polar opposites, like Julika is very shy, very introverted. It's hard for her to like speak her mind, and then meanwhile Rose is kind of like, she's more upfront about it. She's extroverted, she's bubbly, you know. And in a way, you could say Rose brings out the best version of Julika, I would say. Because obviously in I think it was El Toro de Piedra episode, because obviously Ivan wasn't there and Luca couldn't get connected, right? He had like connection issues. So Julika suggested, how about we do an acoustic? And then like Rose is like, the two of us, and she's like, I don't know, Jewel. And she's like it's like I can't really sing without the loud drums and all that. Um and stuff. And then like Julika is like, I'm not a singer either. And then literally like Rose is like, no, you're more than that. You're my star, and then she kisses her. And then like Julika finally got that courage, because yeah, like if you're performing by yourself and you're like an introverted person, that's very tough,
Yeah.
but Rose really brought out the best in her, I would say, you know. So because it's kind of something I wish they would show us more, obviously, but obviously, they're like an actual couple. So, um, but yeah, I think with Julika and Rose, it's like Rose like brings out like where Julika is not as like introverted at least. Um, so that's how I would like frame like their friendship. Ooh, okay. How about I'm like thinking, how about let's talk about the friendship probably between wait, let me check. Wait. I really have to like literally because I know like I said, Marinette and Alia is like the one we talk about the most because they're most represented. If anything. Let me see. Let's see. How about let's talk about the friendship with oh wait, let's do this as an actual group thing. Let's have like Adrian and the guys. Like I think even though it's very small representation in the show, I think we could talk about the guys' friendship at least. You know, with like Adrian, Nino, Kim, Ivan, Max. You know, the guys. So I want to hear your thoughts, you know, just from what we've seen, because it's very little, you know, but you know, I think we could talk about the guys' friendship at least.
Like you said, it's very little. I think we're thinking the same exact episode. What's that? Party Crasher. That's
Yeah.
the only episode I can remember of where the guys were in, like, just the guys. We barely see the girls. And I feel like I really wish we saw more of them because it's dynamic. And I feel like we don't see Adrian really interact with people other than Marinette, sometimes Nino, Luca. I think he interacts a lot with Luca. Uh,
Hmm.
Granted, it's a lot of it is off screen, but compared to like Ivan and Nathaniel and Mark, and
Hmm.
Max, I think he
Hmm.
has interacted with Max a couple of times actually.
Yeah.
And I don't know who else, and Kim. I don't know who else is in the class, but yeah. Yeah, we don't really see like the friendship of the guys. I think we do see them, but they're not in relation to Adrian, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
we've seen Max and Kim, they're clearly best friends. I actually find their friendship very interesting and endearing. We see obviously Mark and Nathaniel, who started off as friends and are now a couple.
Hmm.
Um, we see who else is there? Who else is there? Ivan. Does Ivan really interact with people other than Milen? That's another issue. But
Yeah.
yeah, there are like friendships within the group, but I don't think we see them as much like in relation to Adrian. Um, so but Party Crasher was a really fun episode. Like it was really, I love that episode. It felt like a breath of fresh air. I like how Adrian had his like, bouts of freedom, even if it was short-lived, and he invited his friends. I don't know why they didn't want to invite the girls. I can't remember. I think it was Nino who said like, no, let's not invite the girls. And I think that's just typical teenage boys behavior. So I'm glad they kept
Hmm.
that in, because I think that is really hilarious that Nino was like, no, we are not inviting the girls. We're just gonna have us bro time,
Hmm.
and Marina ends up like infiltrating the party anyways. But no, their friendship is very cute, and I just wish we got them. Like I know, you know how in like Daddy Cop, spoilers for like the people in the chat, in Daddy Cop we got the girls having their sleepover. Granted, we didn't really see much of the sleepover, but we knew like they have a weekly or monthly sleepover. That's really
Hmm.
cute. I wish we got that with guys as well. And I know guys don't really do sleepovers like that. At least teenage guys don't do sleepovers. But they could do hangouts. Like surely one of them like watches football or something. Or
Hmm.
like I don't know. I think we should see some sort of hangout that tells us like, hey, this is a friendship group, not just a class, because it feels like they're classmates and not friends. And granted, yes, you're not going to be friends with everyone in your class. Sometimes you're just
Hmm.
classmates and that's okay. But we saw more of that dynamic in season one. So there's no reason why we can't see more of that in season six now. But I think it's a very
Hmm.
underrated group. And I want to see more of them. I need like a Party Crasher 2.0.
Yeah. Like I think it was like brilliant, you know, in the Party Crasher episode where like it was like, should we invite the girls? And it was like, no, this needs to be bro time. I'm like, thank you. We need to see more of you guys hanging out outside the girls. I mean, like we've gotten episodes where the girls are just hanging out with each other. Like we need more of that. And I think I will always laugh at the how absurd Party Crasher is because like It was like, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure Adrian's dad, Gabriel, would not allow him to have a party, but it ended up happening. And I just laugh at the absurdity of the episode because of it. Um, and then literally, and then I think it was like other guys just started coming for some strange reason. Like it wasn't just like the guys themselves, but it was like other guys coming in too, which was like the weirdest like absurdity in the episode. But I digress. But I do love how like the guys actually decide, hey, let's do the effort of actually going to Adrian's house, right? Um, and we definitely need more of that, because we get more the girl friendship representation in the show. Um, so I think, with what they have showcased in Party Crasher, it is possible to showcase the guys, the bros just hanging out. And I'm just like, I was like, how come we don't have, I was like, I want to see more of it. I'm like Yuji. It's like we need to see more of what the guys are up to, when they're not with the girls, you know, because we've seen what happens when the girls are hanging out, we've seen that at least like several times to my knowledge. So it's like, I'm kind of like, how come we don't get that with the guys? Like, is it because like the writers can't figure out what the guys could do when they're hanging out? I don't know. But a very, very underrated friendship,
Yeah.
Um, but on the flip side, let's talk about the girls' friendship, the girls group, because obviously we have more to talk about from the girls' friendship group.
Yeah, so I like the girls' friendship. Yes, we definitely see them a lot more than the guys. We've seen them multiple times, and I do like how it's not just limited to like Alex, Julika, Rose, Alia, Milen. There's now Zoe and Sabrina's joined the group, and Kagami's joined the group, and Diane, I think that character is called in season 6.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Diane.
so I like how their group is or their friendship is expanding to other people. Oh, and Sublime as well. We haven't seen Sublime interact with the rest of them, but they have mentioned like, hey, let's invite Sublime or whatever. Um, I love the girls' friendship. I think it's really um cute. And I do, compared to the boys' friendship, I do think we have seen like the girls' friendship in relation to Marinette. So we will see like Marinette and Julika's interactions and how they sort of, are friends. And then most underrated, Marinette and Alex. I was like
Hmm.
rewatching the London special and then watched Dark Castle,
Hmm.
one of the episodes of Miraculous, and I just realized like Alex and Marinette is super underrated, and I really, really love their friendship a lot. I wish we got more of them before Alex, had to get confined to her burrow or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously we know Ollie and Marinette, and then Marinette and Zoe is another endearing one that I really, really love. Marinette and Milen don't interact as much, and to be
Yeah.
fair, I don't find Milen interesting at all. So it's not something I'm going to complain about. But I just now thinking about the friendships, I just realized like we don't really see Marinette and Milen um
Hmm.
a lot, and neither do we see Marinette and Rose.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I do like the girls' friendship. I like how sometimes, even though they know Marinette is very wacky and like chaotic, they still like indulge and support her silly plans, like in the episode Gigantitan. Um,
Hmm.
I really like that a lot. And then their sleep, like I love how the fact that they do sleepovers. That's such a teenage girl thing to do. Um,
Hmm.
I love their friendship.
Yeah, yeah, with the Daddy Cop episode, we find out that the girls actually do like a monthly like sleepover at whoever's, they probably rotate. That's what the dialogue seems to imply, that they rotate. It's like, oh, since it's at your place, you won't be late this time. So I think, having something like that, like as a monthly thing, I think that's such brilliance, with the girls, they're like Because obviously, this is true in real life. Like a lot of like girls want to hang out with other girls, you know. That's why they say, I'm hanging with my girlfriends, you know. So I just love how realistic they show that, like, hey, these girls actually hang outside of school. It's not just school that they talk to each other, they actually do stuff together. Um, and I think what was endearing in Daddy Cop, because obviously, I know it's very like controversial with the way Sabrina, was able to join the group. But I think people seem to forget that, like, I think with her, like, people seem to forget that Sabrina is taking accountability, that she treated them terribly, during the time she was like helping Chloe, so I kind of feel like literally, I think what I like is that Zoe was trying to vouch for Sabrina and she said, girls, Chloe was the problem. Because obviously Sabrina was influenced by Chloe, you know. And I feel like it's like I get it that the other girls were very skeptical, about like having Sabrina like to invite Sabrina into their inner circle, which I understand because obviously, Sabrina isn't innocent, because I think you can agree with me with this, G. Like Sabrina was not innocent. She knew what she was doing was like wrong, you
Right.
know. But I feel like people seem to forget that she was taking accountability, like she took accountability, like she's like, she's not playing the victim. She knew that she was like she was doing bad things, you know, if anything. So I'm like, like she was taking accountability. And I tell people this, it's like I feel like you people forget that she actually took accountability. Like she knew she wasn't innocent. Um, and treating everyone, just because she was like friends with the bully. Um, so I think, people seem to forget that. And I kind of like that what's interesting, like I feel like people don't talk about this a lot, is that literally Marinette is the one who welcomes Sabrina into their circle. Because obviously during, Marinette was dealing with her own she was trying to do the 100th kiss thing, right, with Adrian in that episode. And she kind of completely ignored Sabrina because Marinette has a one-track mind and wasn't really thinking, if anything. But I think, Marin, and I think it's like a beautiful message because, like, here's the thing. When it comes to like, if you want to invite like a person who helped the primary bully in bullying you for so many years, um, like in real life, normally people would not want to be friends with that person. Like,
Right.
wouldn't you agree, G? Like,
Yeah.
but here, like, and I like how Sabrina brought it up in that episode when Zoe went to talk to her, and she's like, Marinette would never want me there. Like, she was Chloe's favorite victim. Like I like how Sabrina was thinking about it because like she was thinking realistically that like I don't think Marinette would want the girl who helped her bully, be there because, realistically that's going to be a constant reminder, oh, this is their their like hench girl, right?
Right.
And literally Kagami mentioned that and in the episode, and Zoe's like, girls, Chloe was the problem, you know and everything. So I think like Marinette welcoming Sabrina, I think was like, I think it was like perfect for Marinette to do that because obviously, Marinette is now is friends with one of the girls who helped her bully. But But at the same time, like I said, people seem to forget that Sabrina did take accountability. She apologized. Like it's not like she was trying to play the victim or anything like that, and I think that's just beautiful that she took accountability for her actions, you know. So I think what once Marinette expressed that like welcome to, our group, right? Like that's when the girls immediately like the other girls are like, "Okay, so she has changed." You know, and I kind of like that when Sabrina actually wanted to renounce because she felt like she wasn't worthy because she's like, "I'm an awful person," you know. Um, and then Marinette as Ladybug gave her that pep talk about, oh yeah, and she's like, you have changed. You just haven't seen for yourself yet. So basically she's like telling her, you get to choose who you want to be, how you view yourself. Um, and I think that's beautiful messaging because Sabrina was in a slump. Obviously she was like depressed and stuff, and she had to deal with the aftermath and repercussions of like, oh, I don't know if the girls will even want to be friends with me because I was, helping, helping Chloe throughout the years. So with Marinette welcoming her, I think that was just beautiful. I was like, oh, it's kind of showing like forgiveness, but realistically, like Sabrina brought up a good point because realistically, yeah, if you are like a person who was like bullied by your bully, and then like say for example, like the bully's friend actually redeems themselves, like would you really trust that person in real life? Not really, because like it's hard for people to see change in people, and I kind of like how like I really love how Marinette didn't really hold it against Sabrina, you know, I would say, but that's just my perspective on it.
No, I completely agree because we know Marinette is a very forgiving person. And it reminds me because I said something, I don't remember which episode I said it in or which like video I said it in, but I did say like there is no reason why Sabrina can't be friends with the rest of the class. Sabrina can't, like, when you remove Sabrina from the fact that she's friends with Chloe and her henchmen or whatever, Sabrina's a very likable person. There is no reason why she wouldn't be friends. I feel like she would be the most likable in the class outside of Marinette. She is nice. She is very helpful, a bit to a fault, yes, but she's a very likable person outside of friends being friends with Chloe. So we know that Marina is a very forgiving person. I can definitely see her and Sabrina being really, really good friends. So I really do like, I do want to see more of their blossoming friendship. But I completely agree with you in the sense that like I like how Sabrina took accountability and Marinette sat down and was like, okay, I forgive you. Um, and yeah, and she invited her to the sleepover. That was a really cool scene. And you mentioned something, but you kind of uh like because I you mentioned something like a while ago, and I just wanted to like touch upon that. But you mentioned how like the friends, Marinette's friends, did want to invite Sabrina. They're cool with Sabrina, but they knew Marinette might not have been, so they were like, we have to like ask Marinette first. And if she's cool with it, then I'm cool with it as well. And I really liked that sort of, I guess, solidarity because yes, you may not have any like hard feelings towards this one girl in your class, but if she makes your close friend uncomfortable, I guess in terms we can't like invite her to Marinette's sleepover. And I really like that episode a lot for that. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, because when you think about it, they were thinking about like Marinette's well-being, because all of them knew about like Chloe always picking on Marinette the most, and I also love that like Alia's like, yeah, it's Marinette's place. You should go ask her, and then Zoe's like, fair enough, right? So I think, it just makes a lot of sense, to actually, yeah, because literally the sleepover thing was at Marinette's place. So they, Zoe did have to ask Marinette for permission. I mean, it's like that's a fair statement because it is at her house this time. Because obviously it's been shown, it was like dialogue specific that, like, oh yeah, since it's your turn to host. I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's like that makes a lot of sense. Um, so yeah, like I'm hoping to see more because obviously they are hinting at more Zoe and Sabrina friendship. And I kind
Mhm.
of like how Zoe was the one who reached out an olive branch. So we can talk about that for Zoe and Sabrina.
I I find their friendship very endearing. It's not something that I expected, and I feel like that's why I like their blooming friendship a lot because it was so like it came out of nowhere, but no, I don't mean that in a bad way. I actually kind of mean that in a like it's not something you would expect, but you don't mind it and you don't hate it. You actually quite like it. I think it was really, really nice of Zoe. She didn't have to because, like you said, like Sabrina was Chloe's henchman. She didn't just terrorize Marinette and the class; she terrorized Zoe as well. But Zoe was willing to look past that. Zoe's a little similar to Marinette, like she's very forgiving. She was willing to look past that and be like, Chloe's gone now, so there's like no hard feelings whatsoever. And she also understood that Sabrina was just as much of a victim as Chloe's victim as the other class. And I feel like people overlook that because yes, you
Hmm.
can be a victim, but you can also cause harm to other people. That doesn't absolve you of that as well. So yes, Sabrina very much deserves to be called out for like, all the things she did with Chloe, but we also need to remember that she too is a victim of Chloe's bullying to an extent, also
Hmm.
Chloe's control. And I think Zoe was very emotionally mature to recognize that and be like, Chloe's gone now. I think you're cool. Let's be friends. Let's, try to get you integrated with the class. Because Zoe knows, we know that she has a weird past that they're gonna delve into later on in season 6. We can just
Hmm.
assume that Zoe when she was in New York was probably not a nice person to defend herself from bullying. I'm just going to assume that. I think that's the route they're
Yeah.
probably hinting at. So she knows
Yeah.
what it's like to do like horrible stuff
Hmm.
and regret it because you know it's not you. So I think she recognized that in Sabrina and was like, if you isolate yourself, you're just not going to make things better. Yes, Chloe's gone and yes, you did horrible things, but I think crying in a corner and just isolating yourself isn't helping you, it's just making you look worse. So you need to speak to them, apologize to them, especially Marinette, and I'm sure they will forgive you. And I really like that it was Zoe. Zoe was the one to sort of, you know, not call Sabrina out, but like force her to take that leap of faith and take that
Yeah.
step.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because I felt like Zoe was like the right person to do that because obviously from the other girls' perspectives, they're literally within like Marinette's circle, and they have seen all the stuff that Sabrina has done with Chloe to Marinette. So that's why it didn't really make sense for any of them to extend the olive branch, to Sabrina. So and Zoe I think was the perfect foil and perfect character to do it because she's only been there for like what? Like since season 4, and she was in New York, you know, before she moved to Paris. So like Zoe kind of looks past that because she at least is seeing it from an outsider's perspective, you know? It like if you know what I mean, G, because like she wasn't there at the full beginning when Chloe was bullying Marinette, right? So like she comes from like an outsider's perspective, and like I said, she was willing to look past that. And she's like, and she saw that Sabrina was by herself and sitting by herself at lunch, and not being able to like if you know what I mean. Like I think Zoe was like the perfect character to do it because all the other girls were skeptical, they were like, oh yeah, oh it's like let's invite Sublime, let's invite this girl, right? Undine, all these other girls, and then Zoe's like, I'll invite Sabrina, and they're like, like they kind of give the look of like, you sure that's a good idea? Like if you know what I mean, G.
Yeah.
So like I feel like Zoe, since she didn't like witness it very firsthand from the very beginning, she was more open-minded, you could say. She was more open-minded to extend that olive branch, to Sabrina. And and I kind of like the once the girls forgave Sabrina, Zoe actually winked at her. And she's like, "See, I told you it's gonna work out." Like that was her way of saying, "See, I told you it's gonna work out." And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So it was that like that's why I love what Miraculous does when they like showcase and actually take the time to like showcase these friendships. Um I I think I think it was it in Gargantuan G where the girls literally were like helping them. I think they were like distracting like the baby, right? I I know they were like writing on something and they were like distracting the baby that was akumatized. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, Gigantitan.
so like it really shows that like they're not afraid. It's like because literally like Gaijin, like literally it's just an akumatized baby. It's like, well, they're just throwing a tantrum, the baby and all that. To this day, I still don't know why Gabriel decided to akumatize a baby. I'm like you can't akumatize a baby. They don't understand what you they won't understand your language perfectly or anything, what you want from them. So it's like but that's besides the point. But I love how the girls like in that episode literally took action. Like, and this is them without any powers, without any superhero powers or anything. They're literally just normal human beings, just like, yeah, let's go distract the villain. Um, if anything. So I think that's what the girls' friendship, their inner circle, they're trying to and and that's very realistic with like women and girl friendships. They want to extend their circle. That's just by nature, that's how us women are. We want to surround ourselves with a lot of girlfriends, and I kind of like how the show encapsulates that and captures it so well. Um, if anything. So let's see. Oh wait, let's talk about this specific interesting one. And this one's like a trio one. Let's talk about the friendship between Luca, Adrian, and Marinette. Because I feel like this is a very underrated one.
Um, I I really like Luca, Adrian, and Marinette. If you forget that Luca is in love with Marinette.
Yeah.
I I think that their dynamic works really well, especially in the episode Wishmaker. Because I could like in that episode, I feel like it it didn't lean on the fact it didn't try to remind you that Luca is in love with Marinette, you know? I think it was just
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm here for my friend and I'm here for my other friend. Um, and yeah, I really like that dynamic. I would love to see more of them, but I don't know how to explain this, but I think Luca Adrianette, um, were fun in like the earlier seasons, sort of. But then by the time like Luca finds out Adrian and Marinette are heroes, Ladybug and Cat Noir, I feel like he immediately just becomes their sort of wingman or like, the biggest Adrianette shipper. And I don't really like that dynamic. I don't know. I feel like it became less of Luca being friends with Marinette, being friends with Adrian, and more like Luca being friends with Marinette and he wants to, make sure she's happy with Adrian. I mean, yeah, that's how friendships work, but I do feel like the out of all of the characters in the Luca Adrianette like trio, I think it benefits Luca the least because he's just kind of been reduced from a love interest to Marinette to a shipper for Marinette, and I'm like, okay, that's why I really like the recent or one of the recent episodes. I think it was Mr. Agrest because I feel like that showed a lot of Marinette and Luca's friendship, but also Luca and Adrian's friendship, which we barely see. And I think
Mhm.
that would be a really interesting dynamic. But Luca Adrianette is cute. Definitely not my favorite, but I do think it is an underrated trio, and I would love to see more of them, especially because we know Luca clearly knows something. So hopefully we find out. And I did assume, and this is kind of just going off topic because it's less about the trio and more about Luca and Adrian. I thought like Luca knowing Adrian's identity as Cat Noir would mean that we see more of their interactions because, like, yeah, now he knows Adrian can confide in Luca about certain things that he can't confide in. And I think we do need to see that because Marinette has that someone. She has Alia to confiding about her identity. Now she has Kagami as well. And Alex. We keep forgetting that. But
Mhm.
Adrian, as much as I would love for Adrian to confide in Nino about his identity, we don't have Nino. So we have Luca, and I think that's the next best option. And I feel like we've been sort of robbed of that potential friendship. I really do think Luca and Adrian will be like a banger friendship. I really do see them being very, very good friends. But it's a shame we don't really have much of them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think, Wishmaker was like it's one of my favorite episodes, like, because it really solidifies the trio's friendship. Because obviously, we see like Adrian struggling to figure out what he wants to do with his life because like he never was given that opportunity because obviously his father was dictating everything for him, and he's like, well, it's like, um, and what makes it even more intriguing, because, when Adrian as Cat Noir got hit, right, by the villain's power, like he literally said, oh, my wish is to be what my parents want me to be. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's really sad. It really solidifies that Adrian doesn't have any like goals or ambitions. He was never given the choice to, and now that literally I think it was at school that they're like, hey, you should go to this like fair thing, to help you figure out what you want to do, in the future as your career. And Marinette, even though she does have a goal to become a famous fashion designer, but she still kind of struggles because, we've seen in season 4 where she's like struggling as the new guardian, right? Because from the aftermath when Master Fu left, gave her the role of guardian, and she has to like, and she was literally struggling through that season to how to in order to figure out how to balance that, because to balance being superheroes and going to school, that's tough. That's a tough job. you, if anything. And Marinette has that struggle in that episode, and Luca literally sees Marinette and Adrian having them both struggle, and then he just tries to give them advice to the best that he can, you know. And like you said, like I really love how it solidifies in the season 6 episode, Mr. Aggress. Yeah, like we literally see a bit of like Luca and Adrian, because we need to see more of those two. It's so underrated. Like we barely got anything with like Luca and Adrian. Um, so I think Mr. Gress was like an interesting, it adds more, like you said, like Luca was kind of like written terribly, you know, um, if anything. But now that we've seen Mr. Agrest, he like it kind of shows that he's more human. He's more human, that Like he actually said, "Oh, this is the real reason why I left Paris to be in Brazil because I just can't handle seeing the two of you being in love." He's like, "Well, I'm happy for you both." He's still in love with Marinette.
Hmm.
So I think with that, I think that was and like I said, him using his powers selfishly, I think it really shows. I was like, oh, there's more to his character. He's actually jealous, you know. Because wouldn't you agree with me, G, that like Luca kind of came off too perfect?
Yeah,
In
100%.
So now we actually get to see his more like, oh, he actually does get jealous, because I like how he said, you and Adrian listen to your inner tunes and you're now together. But he's like, but it really pains me and it might turn into um, like, jealousy. And he's like, and I don't want to risk that you know like it shows he's a pretty good friend. It's tough on him, and then literally he used his power, second chance to like just reverse what he said. And then he told a lie to Marinette, and obviously it's eating away at him now. um so it's like it really shows his more human, like he's more like he actually does have flaws. He's not just some perfect dude who has the answer to everything. um Oh wait. How about let's talk about Marinette, Kagami, and Adrian. I think they're also very underrated, the three of them.
They are, but I feel like I love them a lot more than Luca, Adrian, and Marinette, purely because of that one episode in season three. I think it was Hot Hunter.
Hmm.
Which by the way, like I always forget like it has two different names. So whenever I'm like Hot Hunter, people are like, "What? Don't you mean Love Eater?" And I'm like, "No, Hot Hunter, that's the name of the episode." But it's Love Eater for some other people. And I do remember briefly seeing it as Love Eater as well, but I digress. Yeah, purely because of that one episode in season three, Hot Hunter, the finale. Sorry, Kagami, Marinette, and Adrian are such an underrated trio, and I really wish we saw more of them because that whole interaction was just cute. Like outside of Kagami liking Adrian and Marina also having a crush on Adrian, I think it works because we forget that both of those girls like Adrian in that specific episode, and it was just them purely wanting to have fun and get away from all those rules and adults and whatever. And it was just like such a great episode as well. I don't remember if we have any other Kagami, Adrian, and Marinette interactions. I guess the closest you could get is the recent episode, Yaxie goes in, but even then, we don't really see much of that. But no, I really like Kagami, Adrian, and um, Marinette. I think the other episode we got was the episode Protection, but I
Yeah,
like that episode
protection.
less because it was more about Kagami feeling a little bit jealous. And I don't say it in a spiteful way. I just mean like she acknowledges that she still has feelings for Adrian. And every time
Mhm.
she sees Adrian and Marinette together, she feels a bit resentful. She basically had what Luca had. Like it comes full circle. So Kagami admits that seeing Adrian and Marinette makes her feel resentful.
Mhm.
I do love how like Adrian and Marina didn't like judge her for it. They looked at her and they hugged her and they were like, "Was really sorry that you feel this way." Um, like I think that was a very mature thing for a bunch of 14-year-olds to do. I feel like typical teenagers would be like, "Oh, well, if you don't like us being together, we can't be friends with you. We're gonna have to stay away from you because, girl,
Mhm.
you might be like having evil eye towards our relationship." But they acknowledged it, and I think it was a very brave thing for Kagami to admit
Yeah.
that hey, might start resenting you, even though you guys are my best friends. But because I'm still in love with Adrian and I love you, Marinette, but like seeing Adrian and you together it's hurtful. I think that's very brave for her to admit, and I think it was approached from a perspective of maturity from all sides. So I really like that, and yeah, I love Murray Gami Adrianette. It's really hard to figure out the trio name, but Mary Gami Adrianette. or
Yeah.
Adrogami Net. I think that's the fandom's like name. Adrogami Net for that trio. But yeah, I really love their trio friendship.
Yeah, like yeah, I agree with you. I agree with your points. It's like um with the fact that they actually like you said, like people in real life, if like someone is jealous that that the person that they're still in, that they still have lingering feelings for is like in a relationship with another person, it's okay to admit that, because it's not showing that you're weak, you're just acknowledging, and like you said that what was it, both of them that acknowledged that, like, hey, we're sorry that you feel this way. It's like we feel sorry that you feel this way, and they're not being like, oh, we can't be friends with you if you're going to be jealous. No, they they're like they are very accepting of that. It's like, hey, we understand that you're feeling this way, you know um so yeah, it's like you said, they're very mature for 14-year-olds because I don't think 14-year-olds would be like, like them being so forgiving, because when you're like 14 years old and you're like going into high school, there's always going to be those types of people. Oh, if you're jealous, we can't be friends, because that can happen, in real life. But here they were very mature about it, and they're like, hey, but I think what's I could also mention from the previous trio, that it's like you said, Kagami like acknowledges that she like still has, at the time still had lingering feelings for Adrian. And then literally it's the same with Luca that we saw in, Mr. Agrest episode in season 6. Like he still has those lingering feelings for Marinette. So um he's like, yeah, it's like I don't want to feel jealous or anything like that, and if anything. And I love how Marinette literally tries to convince him to stay, before he used his like second chance to like erase that. Like she's like, no, no, it's like Asia and I, we just won't be as romantic in front of you. And I said, girl, that's not gonna help. It's something Luca has to work through. Like I get, she was trying to be considerate of Luca's feelings, but I'm kind of like, that's not how it works in real life. Like he needs to learn to work through that, you know. Because like I said, Luca is happy that Marinette and Adrian are together, but he does acknowledge that, like, I still have lingering feelings. I'm still in love with Marinette, and he's acknowledging that. And he did what he felt like what was best for himself, which is good, because like if he stays, he realizes I am gonna feel jealous if I see the two of them together, so you could say it shows maturity on both Luca and Kagami's part, with their interactions with Marinette and Adrian, wouldn't you say, G?
Yeah, absolutely. To come to someone or two friends that you care about and be extremely vulnerable, but also very honest with them about something that a lot of people wouldn't be honest about. I think that is very, very mature of them to do so.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm really glad that like they're actually showing that Luca is, showing his more relatable side. Because it's like, I get it, they were trying to paint Luca as like this perfect guy, right? In the previous seasons, but then it's like, no, he actually does get jealous. So it's like, I'm so glad, that they actually acknowledge that, like, oh yeah, Luca still has, because literally, I think it was like in season 4 in Crocodile that literally like Marinette didn't want to be around Luca because she's like like I think she was literally, I think she already literally acknowledges that, like, oh, if I'm around Luca, it's gonna break his heart even more knowing that I don't feel that strongly about him, you know? Like I think it was kind of foreshadowing, wouldn't you say, G? That
Yeah.
that dialogue, like Marinette, like even though like Ollie's like, don't you think you're over exaggerating? I'm like, well, once you watch the Mr. Agrest episode, he still has feelings for Marinette. So I'm like, was this like foreshadowing something like out of nowhere? I was like, I think it was good foreshadowing because now we're getting some, at least some character development for Luca because now we know he still has these lingering feelings for Marinette. And it's just something, um, because I would say with Luca, I feel like maybe he feels guilty, for lying to Marinette, obviously. Because obviously he's using, was it Urupay, right?
Yeah.
Urupay. Like he decided to ask her, "Hey, can you be my pretend girlfriend?" Whenever I'm talking to the girl I actually love. Um, so like I think, you can see that Luca does feel guilty. Like you can tell he has a guilty conscience that like it's like eating away at him that he's like, why did I but I guess maybe he didn't want to burden Marinette, with that he still has feelings for her, which I understand, but it's like I'm like, dude, it's like eating away at you. Like I could tell, like you can see that Luca was literally frowning more in that episode when you think about it, G, right? Like he
Yeah.
was frowning more, like he wasn't smiling like he usually is. So I really love how they show his more human side, and I'm super excited to see where this will go, with Luca's character, going forward. So I think another good episode with Adrianette, Adrian, Marinette, and Kagami. I think it was like emotion. Um, I think a really cute moment was literally when Felix was like snapping away a lot of people. And then he's like, "Oh, Marinette's in this dumpster I dumped her in." And he's like, "Wait, she's not in there." And then they're literally really mad at him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, these two are defending their girl." I love it. Um, and you could say that both Adrian and Kagami are very protective of Marinette, when you think about it. Like, I'm not sure
I
I'm not sure if you noticed that. Like they can be very protective of Marinette.
I love that a lot, and thank you for pointing that out because that's not even something that I recognize myself. Now that you mention it, I'm like, yeah, Adrian and Marina are very protective of uh, sorry, Adrian and Kagami are very protective of Marina. Even in the episode Froze back all the way back in season two. Um,
Hmm.
even though Marinette and Kagami barely had a friendship there, and I mean barely, when Marinette fell over and hurt her back or whatever when she was ice skating, Adrian was very protective of her. Kagami, in her own weird way, was protective of Marinette when she like pulled her up and gave her advice and was like, I don't remember what the advice that she gave her, but I would consider that her being protective of Marinette. And yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like they are so protective of Marinette. And I think it's with the context that Kagami knows Marinette is Ladybug. And in that episode, Emotion, when she didn't return, she was panicking and she was like, Felix, where is Marinette? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
um, I love that so much because I think the only friend that Kagami has that isn't Adrian is Marinette. And
Hmm.
yeah, she's friends with the other girls as well, but barely. They're more so acquaintances. So it makes sense why she's very protective of Marinette and Adrian
Hmm.
because he's his girlfriend or boyfriend, sorry.
Yeah, like I think we could also do like the four with like Luca, Kagami, Adrian, and Marinette because there's that crucial episode in season 5 where they're at the museum. I forgot what the name of the episode was, but literally what I love about this is that like literally Luca and Kagami are just like watching the way like Marinette is behaving around Adrian and Luca and Kagami just give each other some interesting insight from their perspectives. And then like Kagami is like literally like being blunt about it. It's like It's like Adrian doesn't realize that his feelings for Marinette are actually love. And then Luca kind of explains it's like, well, I think the reason Adrian doesn't recognize it is because he's loved by everybody, and he literally said he's stuck in a jungle of love. He can't read the signals that Marinette sends him. And Kagami's like, yeah, you do bring up a good point. Like trying to understand Marinette's like signals and cues took me a while to understand. So, uh, what did you think of that interaction? Just from that interaction between Luca and Kagami.
I I think that that's a very I think I like that interaction because Luca and Kagami clearly have no like sort of acquaintance, like no ties to each other. The only connection they have is Marinette. So it's like these two random people that have never really interacted, but the only thing they have in common is Marinette. I think I find that so funny and endearing when they're like, yeah, Marinette is like she's weird. She does things her own in her own Marinette way. I actually really, really like that a lot. And I might not really like that episode in general, but I think by far the Luca Gami interactions definitely made it a lot more um interesting. Just, their shared love for Marinette, their shared like, appreciation, like, yeah, she's a little weird, but we love her. And we've grown to love, well, not grown to love, but we love her weirdness and all. So I really like that interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're absolutely right, G. Like both Luca and Kagami's only connection is Marinette because they both had interactions with her and they've been like Kagami like she's like this girl's weird like and she's like trying to understand her language, because Marinette has her I'm gonna call it quote unquote Marinette language. And literally Kagami admits it took me a while to figure out what she, to understand her as a person. And then meanwhile, with Luca and Marinette, their first interaction, I think, was Captain Hard Rock. And then he kind of just like, when she's like stuttering over her words, he's like, he just kind of just like makes fun of her. And then he realized, oh, wait, I didn't mean to. And then he kind of cheers her up, playing like notes on his like guitar and stuff. So they both have very, very, very different experiences, like, interacting with Marinette, and I kind of like how they each give like their own perspective on Marinette as a person, you know. And I like how Luca was able to at least like analyze Adrian as well, which is which is like Luca was able to understand like Adrian because like Adrian, he was spot on. Adrian is loved by everybody. So Adrian just thinks Marinette, every time he says she's just a friend, he's like, yeah, like he's loved by everybody. So he doesn't understand the difference between like admiration, of those around him and someone who actually has a genuine interest in him. So I think it was just like I felt like that interaction in that episode really stood out to me, you know, like it because Luca and Kagami see like Marinette like differently, they kind of just say their perspectives and everything. And I think what and of course we could talk about, Kagami and Adrian, right out, this is like after they broke up where Kagami, I think what I love is that Kagami just kind of points it out to Adrian. Like, I think we all need like a Kagami where it's like you need like a friend who needs to be blunt with you when you don't understand what you're feeling. Because like Kagami can like I forgot the episode, but I think like literally earlier in that episode, I think Adrian was looking at a watercolor. He was looking at Marinette differently now, obviously. And then like Kagami's like, "You like my watercolor?" It's like, "Yeah, yeah." And then like Kagami can clearly see it's like It's like, you're going to ask Marinette out. It's like, wait, why? It's like, it's clear that you have an interest in her. So every time Adrian kept saying she's just a friend, she's like, no, dude, you obviously have feelings for her. You need to go ask her out. Um, so I kind of like how Kagami is like, being bluntly honest with Adrian. And I think that's what Adrian needed. He needed a wake-up call, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like he needed the wake-up call because obviously like the others weren't really like telling Adrian that, hey, Marinette actually has a thing for you. You know, like but Kagami is just there, as a friend that like you need to ask her out, dude. It's like you are totally crushing on this girl. Like I think when Marinette took off her helmet, her hair was down, and Agent's just like in awe, like, whoa, she pretty. He has that look of whoa, she's pretty. Um, and I kind of like how Luca, Luca's interaction with Marinette, it's like he's being honest with her too, but more gentle. And I think that's what Marinette needed, like someone who's more gentle too. So to tell her that like, hey, it's like like Marinette was overthinking, right? Because she um and he's just like calming her down. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of like how Luke and Kagami just have like these different like dynamics with Marinette and Adrian. Um, because Kagami is more the blunt type, and then Luca's more the gentle type, you know.
Mm.
So I think that's what was really special about, those different dynamic friendships, um, and everything. Oh, but I feel like we need to talk about that one scene. I think it was okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know there was like an episode where like literally I think Mark and Nathaniel were like they made like this whole manga plan thing of to get Adrian and Marinette to kiss. And the others were kind of involved in this. Like, what did you think of that? Like that scene specifically.
I think it's classic class shenanigans, and I think it's very, very accurate to like how classmates slash friends would act if they know like two people in a class clearly like each other and are struggling to get with each other. Let's try and help them out. I think that's very, very accurate. And I think their heart was in the right place, but I
Hmm.
don't think they should have meddled in
Yeah.
it. Um, which is funny because like Marinette is the biggest meddler. She's always coming up
Hmm.
with these convoluted plans, and the fact that that plan wasn't very, I guess, comfortable for her shows how much she has like kind of matured. I don't know if the class kind of acknowledged that, huh, maybe that she didn't like that plan. Maybe we should just stay out of it. Um, but no,
Hmm.
I really like that. I think that again, I think my heart was in the right place. I'm not going to demonize the class for being a little bit too pushy, because
Hmm.
I strongly believe in season 5, and I think the writers were trying to tell us that when Adrian are just like left alone and they like no interruption or no like sort of interjection from other people, they are fine. Like they can communicate, they're fine. Sure, it might be a little bit awkward, but they're fine for the most part. As soon as the class and her classmates start getting like involved, that's when things get a little bit messy and Adrian feel like 10 times more awkward. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's a normal lesson that a lot of teenagers learn. Like, hey, just maybe just we should leave these two guys alone, and
Yeah.
they'll figure it out on their own. So I really like that whole scene, and the episode was, I think, protection in season 5.
Yeah, like I think it's very realistic because like when you're trying it's like you said, their heart was in the right place trying to help them, but like it only made things more awkward because obviously their friends are there to witness it, right? And it's like it's kind of a little embarrassing. From and I love that like Adrian is well aware that I think even before they decide to implement this plan, Like Adrian is like, but what if Marinette wants to leave and it'll make her feel more awkward, because he knows how Marinette is, you know? And then obviously it didn't really help because their classmates were there, and it kind of felt like they were like pressuring them, to literally kiss, but like yeah, like it's better, it's like you said, it's better to not meddle in that type of stuff. You have to let the two people figure it out on them for themselves of how they want to navigate it, um because I think it could also chalk up to, because remember they were friends before they even got together. So it could be a mix of like it's very awkward, because sometimes if you go from like friends to like actually more, it can be awkward at first. I'm like, because I know I'm not sure if you watch Friends, G. Literally, this is the same thing that happened with like Ross and Rachel. Literally when they first got together and they went on their first date, and then I think when they kissed, right after the date, like Rachel was like laughing, and then like Ross is like, "Why are you laughing?" And then and she's like, "It's us, It's like we're crossing that line." So it could be that like since they've been friends for like what, like four-ish, five-ish seasons before they got together, so that's totally understandable why it's tough for them, you know, to go from that. But I would say let's end it on, Adrian and Marinette, because they were friends at first. So yeah, I want to know your thoughts about their friendship before they got together.
I think, okay, I feel like the only time we got an Adrianette like friendship outside of the romantic aspect of it, because yes, we know for the most part Adrian was very one-sided until Adrian finally realized that he's always loved Marinette, blah blah blah. I think the only time where I feel like they had a genuine friendship, like convinced me that okay, these are genuine like close friends, was season 2. um because I feel like they really just interacted without, like, yeah, Marinette like still liked Adrian and still started around him, but I don't think she expected anything from it. Like she wasn't putting that unnecessary pressure on herself to like make a move or for him to make a move, etc. It was just purely friendship. Season 2 was probably what I'd say would be like pure Adrianette friendship, where first of all, Adrian stood up for Marinette when she was accused of setting off the fire alarm in the episode Despair Bear.
Hmm.
Then in Bafana, he gave her the lucky, he made her his own lucky charm and gave it to her, which I think was a great callback to the episode
Hmm.
Gamer. And I think I love that scene so much. Animation may not have been the best, but I love that scene so much because it's like he held on to that lucky charm that she gave him, and it was like the way she gave him the lucky charm in the episode Gamer, like she thought nothing of it. Like she was like, oh, okay, this is my lucky charm, but I don't mind giving it to Adrian. I'm just gonna give it. Like that's something so like I wouldn't say it's careless, but it's like if this lucky charm is important to you, but you gave it away, it's like, okay, you really care about this person. And I think that really touched Adrian's heart, and he thought about it for such a long time to the point where he was like, okay, I need to make my own lucky charm so I can give it to her, and she kept it as well. I think that was really cool. There are other Adrianette moments in season 2, like Gorizella, probably my favorite Adrianette moment, where they just go around Paris and they go to the cinemas, and I love that episode so much. And
Hmm.
Style Queen, when Marinette was really nervous about, her fashion debut, whatever, and Adrian was like, if you weren't a talented fashion designer, then my dad wouldn't have picked the hat. Like you have talent, Marinette. Stop doubting yourself. And then Heroes Day. at the end when he was like, you're our everyday ladybug. I just think Adrianette had a really, really cool friendship. I think their friendship is so underrated because it's overlooked by the romantic relationship they have or that they
Yeah.
develop. Um, but I really do see why they became romantically involved with each other. I strongly believe the strongest relationships are the ones where they start off as friends, build that
Hmm.
friendship, get familiar with each other, and then develop into something more. Granted,
Hmm.
yes, Marinette has always loved Adrian, that's a fact, but I don't think that's ever stopped her from having a genuine platonic friendship with Adrian. The fact that she can confide in him and he naturally, like, he never ever questioned why he feels so natural in confiding in Marinette, despite the fact
Hmm.
that she's like a blabbering mess or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so Adrian's friendship is like something I really, really a lot. So yeah, and obviously
Hmm.
the other Love Square friendships, because Adrian and I are not the same people, just different sides. The Love
Hmm.
Square friendships, Mary Shat, Lady
Hmm.
Bar,
Yeah.
obviously, Ladrian to an extent. Their friendship is like everything to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. Like literally, here's the thing, like from what I've noticed, like whenever like Agent always confides in Marinette when it comes to like his home life. Like he doesn't confide in Nino or any of their other classmates. He always confides in Marinette, and it kind of shows like in a way he can trust her, and I don't remember, and I think what was intriguing about it is that like Marinette actually doesn't judge him, when he's like when he's talking about his father, like she's not judging, you know, um, like especially I know you mentioned it in your video essay regarding what was it? I think it was pretension, the Gabriel and Marinette scene about the what was it, the illusion of a choice scene and stuff. So I think with that, I think it really showcases that like Marinette like wasn't really judging Adrian. And like you said, Gabriel, like, well, Marinette was in Adrian's spot. Like she felt like, oh my gosh, like she kind of felt like what it feels like to be in Adrian's shoes. When Gabriel like gave her that ultimatum that I'll make your dream of becoming a fashion designer come true, but you have to stop seeing my son. So like literally she understood what it felt like to be in Adrian's shoes, you know, um, if anything. So like when and I always loved their like interactions like throughout the entire series, whether they're in civilian identity or superhero identity. There's always something. Like it shows like a different side to each of them. Their different dynamic. Like you could say like the closest other than like Adrianette is their Mary Shat, right? Because Mary Shat, like Adrian is more vulnerable, like he can be vulnerable as Cat Noir to Marinette. So Adrian is showcasing his two different sides that he can be vulnerable as Cat Noir and as himself to the same person, ironically, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's kind of like, like they're learning more about each other. Like obviously Marinette kind of goes to extremes to know everything about him, as we both know. But and being able to, you know, be there for each other even before they got together, really shows their connection, and I think what I enjoy about them is that, they have their own love language. Like I think one of the I think one of the I think what was intriguing, this is when they're as a couple. Remember in the episode Mr. Aggressed, I think? And then Adrian is trying to knit something. He was trying to knit something and it turned out terrible. Um, and all that. So But I think what really solidified it for me for Adrian and Marinette's friendship is that before they even got together, I kind of like how Adrian was understanding towards Marinette. You know how like Marinette struggles to say I love you? I forgot what the episode was. And then he's like, okay. He's like, let's do this. It's like raise your right hand for yes and raise your left hand for no. So when he asked her questions, she was just raising her hand, you know? And I think that's a great way, like he problem solved a way for communication, because he knows that Marinette can, she flubs over her words, she stutters with her words. So the fact that he was so considerate, it's like let's try this. So like, and this was before they got together. Like he understood that it's hard for her and he was considerate. And I was like, this boy be all problem solving. I love it. What did you think of that scene, G?
I I love that scene as well because it just shows that like you said, he understands Marinette isn't the best communicator, and I think when it comes to like both friendships and romantic relationships, we're gonna have our flaws, but we need to be able to compromise and figure out how to get around certain barriers and certain setbacks. And he was like, okay, just raise your hand for this, raise your hand for that, blah, blah, blah. And I find that really endearing. Like he was super patient. He didn't judge her. He was just like, we're gonna get through this. Let's find a way to communicate in a way that you are able to communicate. And yeah, I like that scene a lot. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like it really shows that they like they have their interesting communication. They have their very intriguing communication style, you know. And I think that was just done beautifully because the thing with Adrian and Marinette's friendship, they don't judge each other. Like sure, like there are times where Adrian gives her like weird looks whenever she was behaving weird, but he's like, okay, I guess that's just the way she is. Like he doesn't judge her. And the same with Marinette. She doesn't judge him, whenever Adrian confides to her, and I think that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to have a friendship and then slowly evolves into like romance.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Any final thoughts on Adrian and Marinette?
Um, I do want to say I do like how, yes, they're in a romantic relationship in season 6, and we very much are reminded of that every episode. But I feel like we are still seeing parts of their friendship as well. Like I said, the best relationships are the ones where you can see like they're not just a couple, but they're also best friends. And it's the episode Clamata Queen was probably the best instance of them just being friends, but also being a couple when they were
Mhm.
trying to figure out what Adrian's passion could be. And they had a really cute like scene as well when she like grabbed when she grabbed his neck and kind of like not armed wrestle, but like wrestled him and was like, we are gonna find the solution today. And they both laughed it off. I think that was probably one of my favorite scenes. But I do like how season 6 is also reminding us that before they were a couple, they're also friends, and we see parts of their friendship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like Climatic Queen, it's um like Marinette is literally behaving like how they were when they were friends, which I'm glad because they're showing that, like you said, the best relationships are when you can still be friends even when you are together as a couple, and we see those instances where like they're just having fun with each other, like they're trying to help Adrian find his passion. And then that scene where his hair goes up because he's touching electricity. Um, and we see all these cute moments, and like I said, you can take them platonically or romantically, because literally that's what they are. They are like best friends and they're also in love, you know. And I think that's a beautiful message. Like you said, they you know, best relationships come from actual genuine friendships, you know, that have evolved over time where, you know, you fall in love with that person who basically, you know, a lot of couples when they get older, they will say, oh, like my spouse or my partner is my best friend. And that happens a lot, you know, because clearly, I think that's you know with what they did with Adrian and Marinette, you know, they have their friendship evolve. And then of course it took Adrian a lot longer to come to the realization, but here we are now in season 6. Um, but yeah, their friendship is beautiful. You know, I like how it evolved. Sure, it was frustrating to hear him keep saying she's just a friend, but hey, I'm like, it's always best that they start off as friends, you know, getting to know each other before they got together. But looks like those are my final thoughts. And of course, I will have to end this live stream, so I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, I want to thank you, G, for for another great episode of the Lucky Charm podcast. It's
Yeah, thank you for having me.
it it's always a lot of fun to deep analyze the series, like despite the writing being wonky and terrible at times, but going into these deep discussions with you has always been so much fun, I would say. Like I think, you know, with what they've done, you know, hopefully we get to see more of the other friendship dynamics, you know, going forward because I do, you know, like I said, we were talking about the very underrated ones and we need to see more of them in the show. But I will announce I did reveal my upcoming Q&A in December, and it is the next episode of Goth Spotlight with Liaserenityrose, episode 45. So, Doom the Meme Queen and I, we will be doing a Q&A with the ever so popular Sanemi artist Eves about her and her works. So if you want to tune in for that, that will be December 6th on a Saturday at 1 p.m. PT, 4 p.m. ET. And of course, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that bell notifications for upcoming videos and live streams. So I want to thank you all again. You all are amazing. And of course, there is going to be more episodes coming soon for Lucky Charm podcasts and my other podcast series. So be sure to be on the lookout for that and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everyone.